Hello everyone, welcome to the spoiler talk of Agent Carter. Now I can finally feel free. So that whole Mr. Mink stuff, like what was that about? Just asking immediately. Like we get introduced to this Mr. Mink character who is like mad at Peggy Carter for some reason. And I actually don't really remember it anymore, but he's mad about Peggy Carter for some reason. And then becomes like this antagonist that gets killed by Dottie and just like never be seen again. And I don't even remember if that gun that he had, the minigun pistol thingy, if that thing was ever used again. Like that is the big problem. But I just like this morning woke up to being like, I was just on the toilet, I was just watching like a video. I don't remember what video, but I was watching a video and then it had nothing to do with Agent Carter, but it just popped in my mind. I was like, but why did they make it? Why did they make that? Why? It makes no sense. It's so dumb. But overall, I thought the season was really good. I mean, it starts off with the one-shot being canon, and at that point, I'm like, wait, what? Because it starts off with Peggy, like, I guess, preparing for bed or whatever. She's like doing the girly, you know, like the women thing. She is like, taking care of clothes. She's like dressing herself up in that sense, and you know, it all makes, and it's like, okay, cool. But during that stuff, you see snippets of like Captain America: The First Avenger. I was like, that memories. But also, you get to see like a one shot from the one shot. There's like a singular shot that is about the one shot where she kicks a guy through a window. But it's like, but the one shot doesn't work because in the one shot, Peggy Carter is like basically, you know, the secretary, and then afterwards she does a really badass thing. And then the people behind the scenes are like, yeah, Peggy Carter deserves, you know, like basically gets, I guess you could say gets promoted to like I don't remember it fully, but like in a sense, you know, gets promoted to field work in that sense. But then in this show, she's once again the phone lady. It's just like, I would rather just have the one shot not be canon, because I also really like this show, as you saw in my actual review. But that's just a thing that I've always thought was a bit weird. I also have no idea how to do a TV series review, so we're gonna experiment with this until I get it right. But yeah, but like I said, Peggy really gets disrespected at the SSR. Like, even Thompson at one point just goes on like, attacks her in that sense, where it's like, no matter, look, why are you here? Why are you doing all these things? No matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, no man is ever going to respect you. And I'm like, that is not true. I feel like Sousa respects her. Just saying. I mean, you can't be in love with someone unless you respect them as well. It's gotta happen. But anyway, it's like he is just such a bully in this show, because he just keeps pushing her until like episode 5, which is actually my favorite episode of the whole season. You know why. But in episode 5, we get the backstory of him, and in a sense why he needs to always prove himself. And that's because of the fact that when he was in the like at war, he was the lookout. He fell asleep, and then people went into the camp. He woke up, killed them all, and turns out they came there to surrender. He tells this bullshit story where they tried to kill the people, and then he killed everyone in order to save everyone. But the real thing that happened is the fact that they came there to surrender, and he's had this weight on him. And I do like how what happens in episode 5 also helps him understand that Peggy is just a really, really good person, but also a badass in that sense, where it's like, yeah, like when they go after her because they figure out that I'm going all over the place in this thing, but when they go after her, Thompson is like, I told them that they needed more. They can't just treat this like any ordinary woman. This is Peggy Carter. And that was the big thing, where it's like, yeah, he finally has some respect for her. No matter how you look at it, if he says, but we need to send an army after this woman, that means he respects her. So I like that. I also love the Jarvis misunderstanding in the first episode. I'm just looking at my notes that I made here. I got like mysterious message, which that might be about like the typewriter, which I don't really understand how that works. But this is comic booky technology, so who really cares? But like Jarvis has like a misunderstanding. It's like Jarvis just like, you need to come with me, and then Peggy just punches him and then runs away, and Howard's like, that's me, come down, Peggy. And then Peggy becomes a traitor in order to help Howard Stark, because after Captain America: The First Avenger, he truly understands that Howard wouldn't do such a thing. Howard may not be the best person, as you see later on when they're looking for the Russian girl. Which actually is a note that I made about episode 6. Where Jarvis keeps getting beaten up by Russian girls. Well, no, by women that he has slept with, because they're looking for Dottie, who is the main antagonist of the show. I mean, the main antagonist is Johan or whatever his name was. Yeah, Johan Fenoff. Fenoff is the main villain, but like Dottie is like in a sense, the main henchwoman, I guess. But they're looking for Dottie because of the fact that in episode 5 they learned that the women handcuffed themselves to the bed, or the little girls, so there would be scars on the wrist and also on the bedpost. So, but every time it's like there's just like this giant list of women that he has had a bedroom encounter with, let's just call it that, and every one of them just hits Jarvis, just keep hitting Jarvis. It's like, poor Jarvis, man. But like, Howard may be a sleazebag, a pervert, or whatever you want to call him, but he would never, ever be an official traitor to the United States, right? Because his vault was emptied out. However, you know, you're a rich guy, maybe making some money on the side isn't such a bad thing, so it wouldn't really be so far-fetched to think that he cleaned out his own safe. So she agrees to help, and also she needs a purpose because at the SSR she just does not get respected at all as a field agent. But so now she has a purpose to help Howard Stark. And also I like this because it adds more character for Howard Stark as well, where it's like, you know, seeing, well, not character, but seeing more of Howard Stark. I like that. Then, during one of the missions, she needs to go to this club, and we get Blonde Peggy, as you saw in the thumbnail. I mean, how could I not? Hey, I'm not someone who clickbaits with, like, a woman with gigantic melons, okay? I don't use that specifically for clickbait, you know, where it's just like, oh, hey, look, woman in bikini, let's just put that in the thumbnail, even if it has nothing to do. No. This actually happened in the show, and she looked very good. Outside of the blonde wig, I would have rather had the brown hair, personally. But undercover work works like undercover work. And she goes in to that club. She actually dodged the camera guy, which I like. However, she didn't really think about the fact that she has 2 dots on her shoulder that she was, I think, born with, or was got through accident. But she knows that those things are there, right? Or not? Does she not know that she has 2 dots on her like on her back? Because that's how she later on gets uncovered, because of the 2 dots. But like, doesn't she know? Okay, like it feels like a weird oversight to do. But she goes into the club, kisses, and then, you know, the guy forcefully kisses her because, you know, it's 1946 when that kind of thing was allowed. I don't know. Look, it wasn't a good time for women. If you want to know how, well, okay, no, it's not as bad as how women are treated in India, because those stories are just horrifying. In 1946, women were not really like, I mean, if you are at a bar, you could just slap a woman on the booty, and nothing happens unless the woman fights back, obviously, but then she gets fired. Now you can actually make a complaint about that kind of stuff, where that is not okay. So that's kind of what I mean. But she's trying to figure out who did it in her like very attractive looking voice, and also well sounding voice, and also she's doing like the hypnotizing voice that women like to do in order to get a man to do whatever they want. But also she has some cleavage. So she's got the full package. She basically really just has the full package in order to hypnotize a guy into do whatever. However, this guy is a bit needy, so kisses her and then falls asleep because she has like sleep lipstick on. And then she goes to the safe, finds this ball, puts it in her bag, walks out, and then needs to defuse. And I like a phone call as well during that part where it's just like, Jarvis is just like, yeah, but I'm busy with stuff. Jarvis, the whole, I don't know, the city could explode. Yeah, but the fondue or whatever he was talking about, it needs to be done. I love their interaction with each other as well, especially also in season 2. But we'll get there next week. Don't you worry about that one unless stuff comes up. But in the MCU review saga, that's the next one that is planned. However, the fact that she went into that building has not really gone unnoticed entirely. And also afterwards, they learned that they need to go to Roxxon, actually, which is funny. I like how Roxxon was part of this too, because that was like a company that was very important throughout the whole TV side. I mean, it had stuff. I don't know if the Netflix stuff did stuff with Roxxon, but I think there was like something with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, Cloak and Dagger had a big Roxxon presence. So that was kind of like the through line throughout the whole thing, where it's like Roxxon is just always there in that sense. But anyway, so she goes to this company. It's very silent until Jarvis starts speaking through the walkie-talkie, and that's just, you know, loud as can be. It's like, turn down the volume on that one. But it's so loud. Eventually, you know, like the people get detected. Well, Peggy gets detected. She chases after one guy who doesn't have a voice box anymore, so basically he bumblebeat himself, or someone else bumblebeat him, and then, you know, basically warns about Leviathan, throws down one of those balls, gets in the truck, and goes away. Peggy's like, I need you now, Jarvis, meet me. And then she just jumps on the roof, gets in, and they barely get away. And the bumper gets caught in the explosion as well, as you know, because later on we need some evidence that they were there. So because of that, Peggy later on tells Jarvis to get rid of that car. Simple as that. And when you're rich, you can basically falsify anything. But that was basically the whole of episode 1. Then in episode 2, we get the introduction of the Captain America show with Betty Carver, which oh my, this was probably one of the best things in this show. It was a breather from all the serious stuff. It's just like so funny, but like what makes it really great is the fact that it's Betty Carver, aka Peggy Carter, and Peggy is just so mad about that because they go with the stereotypical like hero and damsel in that sense. Oh my god, Captain America, please save me, that kind of stuff. But Peggy's like, that is not how that happens. I like that, but she just gets annoyed. Turn that off. However, because of the fact that her friend, her roommate, I guess, died in the previous episode, now in this episode, Peggy starts to kind of push people away because she doesn't want anyone, like, she still has PTSD, I guess, from the fact that Captain America's dead. And also the fact that now her friend died that she stayed with, which I didn't really talk about that. Forgot about to talk about that. But there's a guy, also a voice boxless guy, who basically attacks Peggy Carter in her house and shoots the friend dead. And then, you know, gets thrown out the window and then he escapes. But Peggy starts to blame herself for everything, where it's like, everything bad is happening to me, so I don't want anyone else around me who can then potentially die. And this is a big thing that you see in a lot of people, where it's like when something bad happens, they start to push people away. And to be honest, that is the moment that you need to hold on the tightest. Kind of like your mom. Couldn't resist. Anyway, in this episode, she also learns about Vita rays, and then also starts to, search for Vita rays. But that's also what the SSR learns about Vita rays. So Peggy now is in a bit of a situation because that company also has some female employees, Roxanne, because their SSR is trying to figure out who is the inside nut job who basically, got rid of an entire factory. So you need to check Vita rays. So Peggy needs to check everything, and then her watch, so she needs to throw away that watch, walks out, scans everyone, but then she sees the mute guy who is there, and it's like she knows that that's the bad guy. But then Thompson does the Vita ray scan, and it's like, okay, clean. And then Peggy's like, wait, do these people have lockers? Because Vita rays, low-level Vita rays, don't really like a hot shower, and it's gone. So about clothes, do these people have lockers? And then the dude starts to run away, and then everyone kind of goes after him, and then Peggy asks the boss of Roxanne, like, where does that way lead? He's like, that way, like over there. It's like, okay, where are the staircases? That way. She goes through the stairs, grabs someone's bag, and just hits the dude with it. I love that. It's like smart thinking. I like that kind of stuff. It's not like she overpowers like a gigantic guy that, realistically, she wouldn't be able to do. No, she uses her brain for this one. She's just like, no, dude, I'll cut him off. He'll never see me coming, and then I'll trip him with a bag. And there you go, done. Hey, problem solved, right? I love that. Smart thinking. Anyway, also Peggy goes undercover, which at that point she looked very attractive, because I know the stigma is the fact that women with glasses are not attractive. I am on the opposite side, that I do find women with glasses attractive, and I already find Peggy Carter very attractive. So you put glasses on her, and yeah, I may be on the floor with my chair on said floor as well, as in I fell out of my chair like, whoa, hello, mom. But yeah, but she goes to investigate because and I love the way that she just talks. Like whenever someone puts a question towards her, she's immediately like, what do you mean? Just attacks him. It's like, no, nothing. Alright, and then when she walks away, she's like, put some more air in this tire, and just walks away. I like that, but eventually she learns that one of the trucks is missing, and then she gets a name from the company, and then she gets an address by calling around. And then when she wants to leave, it's like the photos came back, and she's kind of getting scared. So obviously we need to have a little bit of a funny one where she tries to open it up, but it doesn't work, and she never really gets to open it up at all and look at the pictures until later on. But then we once again have a scare where it's like, hey, is this Joe Giamatti or whatever they call it? Is this Joey? This is Joe. Like, she's like, I don't know. But she goes over there, interrogates the guy, ties him to a chair, interrogates him. And I like this where it's like, she then later on goes outside because Lee Brannis is here, the mute guy from the Roxanne company. in order to steal the truck. And she goes outside, but then when Jarvis later on goes back inside in order to grab that guy, apparently he just ran off with the chair strapped to his back. I thought that was so funny, especially when Dooley and Thompson roll up, and it's just like, you know, take him in, and then he's like, so are we even gonna talk about what just happened? Yeah, I get it. You know, I also take rolls in the night with a chair on my back. It was so funny. But anyway, Lead Brandis dies in this episode, sadly enough, R.I.P. the boy and everything, but not before doing the symbol of Leviathan. Also, what that device, the invention does, look, like I said, all over the place, a bit rambly, but that's how it works here. What that device does is actually it creates an explosion and an implosion. So it blows everything up and then sucks everything back into one giant ball, basically. So half the ocean is gone because of the fact that it was all sucked up by the thing. I also have here, strong independent woman hears the truth, but I don't remember what that reference was. The difficulty of doing show reviews. I don't remember what the strong independent woman hears the truth was. I think actually she had a talk with someone and where she basically goes on like, you know, I can do this by myself, and then, you know, I think it's Jarvis actually who tells her that no, you need people no matter what. You can pretend all you want to be a strong, independent woman, but everyone needs help at some point. You can't do everything alone. I like that too. That she, like, it's kind of like telling those, like, women who are, like, strong and independent who don't need no man to be like, no, you're not that smart. You do need someone else. I mean, you can't be independent and succeed at everything because you always need someone's help. I like that. And then in episode 3, Peggy starts to search the vault, but not before, you know, certain issues happen because of how it starts Scar, because the fact that they pull out the bumper and then they trash the license plate. However, because rich people are rich, yeah, that kind of like gets swept under the rug because, you know, it's like, oh, hey, I reported that car stolen a while ago. Kind of wish you found the whole car, not just the license plate. I like that. Jarvis is great. However, Jarvis later on gets interrogated, and that's basically the main part outside of searching the vault, because of the fact that Jarvis' interrogation goes wrong when Thompson is like, that says that he had a discharge from the army for doing something bad, and the bad thing that he did was he loved his wife. No, seriously, that's what he did, because his wife, Peggy's like, was she Jewish? He is like, still is actually, happily so. I like that line. She still is Jewish, don't worry about that one. She is still very much Jewish. But you know how the things work. But anyway, he tried to get his wife out of there, but in order to do that, he kind of broke the rules. So he got a dishonorable discharge because of that. I do like that plot line. The interrogation also goes pretty far. I mean, Jarvis never gets beaten up. They just did that to that one guy where they just like carrot or like stick and just like freaking start beating him up. And until, you know, like, and then when they have Jarvis, Carter ruins it because, you know, Agent Carter needs Jarvis. And episode 3 is also when we get the introduction of Dottie Underwood. But anyway, like, Peggy Carter searches the vault. They see a giant hole. They go down the hole. And then it's like, look, the best way to go is walk that way. And it's like, but you said there was a storm. And the water goes that way. So if there was a heavy storm, and with the way that New York is designed, you only needed a raft in order to just get out of here safely. And then they get to the end and they see a ship, and it's like, well, there you go. That's what we need to do. So they go over to that place, and then, you know, like a big guy shows up, fights Peggy Carter. Peggy Carter is very much on the losing side because he is a big guy. Jarvis tries to go in because he's the man. Also gets beaten up because, you know, he's still Jarvis. This is a gigantic man. Until there's one invention that they talked about before where it's just like, it was supposed to be a massager, but the problem is it breaks every bone in your body. So basically, if you put it on your back, it breaks your back. And like Carter does in this episode, he puts it on his arm, and it just breaks the dude's bones in his arm. Man, Stark is a genius, but also very much not smart at all. And also in this episode, we get the introduction of Dottie Underwood, our main bad girl of the show, because she was... We'll get to that. Alright, we'll get to Dottie Underwood later, but this is where she gets introduced. And also we get a little bit of a snippet of the Battle of Finau, which was a battle where there were so many dead bodies. And everyone thought, like, the Russians did it. Because I also like that. In this season, the Russians are the villains. And we're now in 2024, 5. 2025. I'm in 2024, but we're in 2025, and you know, you have like Russia versus Ukraine, and I don't know, parallels to the real world, I guess. 10. Also, this year is the 10-year anniversary of this show. I like that. I didn't realize that when making it, but this is the 10-year anniversary. 10 years, man. But with the whole shipment that they find with all the weapons, they can't just call it in because, you know, Jarvis is like, all right. He starts to interrogate her about how she came across it, and the fact that he basically the moral of the story is, yeah, if you go and report this in, your life is done at the SSR because you have broken so many rules doing this, and also these do not prove that Howard Stark is innocent, okay? We found the weapon, we found the weapons, I guess, but it does not prove that Howard Stark is innocent. I need to get through this faster. But anyway, so Jarvis calls it in with an American accent, different voice, and basically gives barely any information outside of the fact that you need to come here for the ship, which later on they do get some a hobo, like a homeless person, in order to figure out who it was, but I don't really think it ever led anywhere. But anyway, so they got like Sousa and that dumb officer. I call him Officer Stupid. They go, the one who picked the ball apart and found the fact that it was the license plate for the car. They go over there, they find it, everything is great, and then they also find the dude who was attacked, obviously. And when Officer Stupid is transporting that guy to the station, someone parks up behind them, gets out of the car, shoots them both dead, called dead. No witnesses. Because Officer Stupid is the first one to figure out that it's Peggy Carter. He's like, wait, brunette? English brunette? Sounds a lot like the Peggy Carter. And then someone bumps the back of the car, and he gets out like, hey, what are you doing, man? It's poof, dead, and then poof, dead. And I think the original plan, because of the fact that this never got a third season, that was supposed to be Peggy's brother or something like that. Which, hey, whatever. That is just a random soldier for Leviathan that got taken out, I guess. At some point, maybe. I don't know. I like to just say that was like a Leviathan person. Headcanon in that sense. Anyway, then in episode 4, we start the episode off with Stark getting smuggled into the country. And we also get the Mr. Mink stuff, which that one was kind of like, And the big part of this episode is the fact that one of the devices needs to be stolen back. So Peggy goes into the SSR, grabs it, but Howard said that if you activate it, it would cause a blackout that wouldn't be solved for another 15 years. However, when she asked Jarvis about that, he scratched his ear and it was like, what's in here? Cap's blood. Turns out it was Cap's blood. And then she confronts, also Peggy Carter now lives at a all-women house. And, you know, Howard Stark goes from room to room. But she smuggles Howard into the house, and he basically goes room to room in order to just have a fun time with the gals. Which I always thought was funny. But Peggy comes home and confronts Howard about Cap's blood, and he's like, look, the government, like the government got all the vials except one, and that one went to me. That's that one. And then she basically confronts him about the fact, like, you know, why did you lie? It's like, well, it's because of how much Cap means to you, but also I'm trying to just make vaccines. Like, Cap's blood could potentially lead to vaccines and all that stuff. And this is kind of where I have a small issue with the show, because there's some, in my opinion, bad writing because of the whole, look, the morality of the whole thing. Let's talk about it. Now, no matter what, no one looks good here, but let's just talk about that, shall we? So, Peggy basically is like, and how much money are you going to make off of it? Because he's just like, I can cure so much. We could have the cure for cancer in here, the cure for AIDS, the cure for any disease ever, the cure for whatever came in 2020. Everything. We can cure it all. And then she's like, yeah, but how much money are you set to make from it? And I was just like, who cares? Okay, look, Stark is gonna make billions off of that. But let's be honest here, who cares? Imagine how many people who, after 1946 until, I don't know, 2025, died from cancer, could have lived because of Captain America's blood. Sure, Howard Stark is gonna make money off of it. But imagine how many people could have lived because of that. One man's gain, but it's technically everyone else's gain too. Sure, he makes all the money. He makes all of the money. But we also have a vaccine for every disease potentially imaginable. That's kind of like where I was more on the side of Howard than Peggy. Because what Peggy says, like, fine, okay? Yeah, don't give it to, like, a corporate. You can't trust a company. But also, if you think about it, it's a cure for, like, every disease potentially, maybe. they could potentially make a cure for every disease, and you're just getting mad about that because he's gonna make money off of it. To anyone who likes that scene, I personally did not. I love this show, but I did not like that scene because Peggy is horribly in the wrong there. Just thought I'd mention that. But let's go over to episode 5, my personal favorite episode. Also, Peggy smashes a hole in the wall, hides the blood there, kicks Howard out. But anyway, episode 5 is my personal favorite of this of this season because we get Howling Commandos, baby. Well, not all of them, but we get Damien Dark. Nice for him to show up. Couldn't resist. But yeah, we get the one Howling Commando, I guess the main one from Captain America: The First Avenger. He's in here, but because the other actors either did not want to come or they don't work for TV budget or whatever, we got some new Howling Commandos. But overall, I like the fact that the Howling Commandos came in because the fact that, well, another continuity thing. And also we get Dottie's backstory. And Dottie's backstory is basically, this is something that I did not know until I just watched it. Like yesterday when I was watching episode 5, because I did 4 episodes on Friday, 4 Saturday, and now it's Sunday. But when I watched episode 5, I noticed something and I was like, wait, this is Black Widow. This is a connection to Black Widow. I thought it was just a Leviathan thing, separate from Black Widow. But this is Black Widow, and it totally is. That was so cool. It's like, oh my god, this is like a reference to Black Widow and the Red Room for Black Widow. I didn't notice that until like now, even though we've had kind of similar scenes in the Avengers movies where, women were basically trained in horrible ways as killing machines, because as you know, especially in a time like that, as Peggy later on explains as well, women are often overlooked. Well, actually, I think it's the main villain of the show, because Fenoff also gets into this in this episode. But Fenoff basically explains it where it's like, women are often overlooked, I mean, women are always seen. A man always sees a woman's booty, a woman's breasticles, all of that. However, a woman is never seen as a threat because a man is biologically stronger than them. However, a surprise attack can take anyone out. So, Peggy Carter can be like, oh my god, oh, I dropped it so clumsy. The guy tries to help her, and then she pulls out a tiny gun and shoots him dead. He would never saw what was coming. If she pointed a gun at him face first, he would have known what happened. But no, sneak attack. That's kind of what I mean. Because women are the innocent ones who aren't, men, basically. And that is, but the fact that was like a tie to Black Widow completely shot over my head. And it's just like, oh, that was pretty cool. But Dottie was basically trained as a Black Widow through Leviathan. And, well, I mean, I guess she was a Black Widow, then joined Leviathan. I don't really remember, like, I don't know how it fully happened, if the Red Room was a part of Leviathan. Because Leviathan is Russian, so is Red Room, so maybe they were connected, or she jumped from one to the other. But it was pretty cool that we actually got to see some Black Widow stuff. I like that. I also like the Howling Commandos, and the fact even like Dum Dum Dugan was like, yeah, we all miss Cap, Peggy. I know. And this is the episode where we have Thompson, who warms up to Peggy and starts to respect her more because she saves him. And I love that whole thing. I mean, they go into that facility. You have that little girl who just, oh, cute little girl. And then, stabbed death. Well, not death, but stabbed. Someone else dies later on. And basically some of the Howling Commandos die. But it's like stabbed. It's like, yeah. This is what they mean with the fact that women are just like little girls. They are often overlooked. It's like, oh, hey, look, you want my hat? And then, whoya! And then, they try to escape. They try to get the doctor out. Fenoff, and also there's someone else there who is the engineer. Sure, why not? But they get them all out. Thompson has a freeze moment where he just doesn't know how to shoot. Like, he basically has some PTSD moment, and Peggy gets him out. Everyone kind of escapes outside of the dead people. They leave, because also Peggy wasn't allowed to go on this mission. I completely forgot the beginning part to talk about that. But Peggy wasn't allowed to go on this mission because of the fact that this is what I meant in the review when I said he explained himself. Because he said, like, the Chief Dooley explains the fact that it's like, look, Peggy, I don't necessarily care if you go, but let's be honest here. If I sent you with them and you die, I'm the idiot who sent a woman to die. If one of my guys bites it while you're there, I set him up to die because you are there. Look at it from my perspective. And she's like, okay, look, what if I get you the 107? He goes away, calls, and then then Thompson tries to basically do the game plan. She comes back in. All right, the Howling Command, the 107 will meet us here. And that is the plan, right? It's the most obvious one. I like that about Peggy as well. But I love this episode personally because of the Howling Commandos, but also now the Red Room. It's my favorite episode. Then in episode 6, we have the search for the Russian girl that I talked about. We also have the fact that it's like Peggy gets found out to be the main bad guy in that sense in their eyes. That's basically the whole thing of this episode, where it's like, well, after the beginning part of the episode, because she tries to interrogate Fenoff as well. And then Dooley gets mad at her, and then she's like, look, I know something. She's not spilling that she conducted her own investigation, but she's like, we need to investigate. I mean, the Russian girls, that angle, we need to investigate that. And Dooley's like, all right, do it, okay? If you have a hunch, follow it. This means that she's gotten respect thanks to the other episode. I love that so much. But he's like, follow it up. And you can see her being happy about that, but she keeps talking beforehand, and he talks back, like a bit of a fight. And then when he says that, he's like, huh, so you can be silent when you have to be. I was like, well, I like Chief Dooley. What can I say? He's a good guy. R.I.P. the boy. But it's the next episode. Don't worry about it. But Peggy gets found out as the bad guy because the fact that, you know, Sousa before in the last episode saw that Peggy had those dots on her back because the guys play a prank with him. And Peggy is on the other side of the locker room changing. However, the one issue that I have is the fact that Peggy is like, you know, like changing. But when Sousa comes in, she's like, oh my god, which understandable reaction, but turns around. And I'm like, you're wearing basically a nightgown. What's the problem here? You're not in your underwear or anything like that. What? You didn't have to turn around. With that outfit, she didn't have to turn around. If she was in her underwear, I get why she would turn around. But she wasn't. She was basically just wearing something that women wear. Like that my mom wears when she goes to sleep. But anyway, he figures out that Peggy might be the bad person. The blonde chick. She might be the blonde one. So we already knew that the blonde one might be a brunette. However, then he goes to prison and then the dude stuck to the chair identifies her. And at that point, you know, Sousa goes to the chief. I guess this is off screen, but goes to the chief, tells the whole story. Oh, no, this is not off screen. Getting everyone, the plan in order to get her is off screen. But he goes to the chief. He's like, Chief, I got something for you. And we don't get to see his reaction. We just go to the diner where Peggy and Jarvis are basically meeting up, trying to figure out a new plan. And then, because they figure it out who it was, but the person has already vacated. But afterwards, while they are kind of talking, everyone kind of starts to leave. And it's like, Peggy's immediately like, oh, isolate the suspect. Oopsie. Oh no, this is not gonna end well. So she fights the SSR while Jarvis locks the door. She kicks a chair over there. Jarvis puts it in between there. And I'm like, why didn't you just do that from the beginning? They take everyone out. This is where like Jarvis smacks someone and he's just like, yeah! I like Jarvis a lot. Then they walk out the back, and that's where Thompson is waiting. And Peggy kind of distracts him a little bit and then punches him out and runs away. And then Sousa's like, stop it! Stop! And then she's like, it's not what he looks like. And then he looks behind her, sees Thompson unconscious. Yeah, that's not a good look now, is it? When I was watching, I was like, ooh, that's not a good look. But Peggy's like, you're not gonna shoot me, and just runs away. And then later on, we kind of cut back to him, and it's just like with Thompson, and Thompson's like, so she outran you. He's like, I have a crutch. So they need to make a plan on where she goes, because like, you know, like Dooley is like, all right, let's just have everything shut off, you know, like have agents at all exit points when they want to leave the city. All right, we need to get that right now. Meanwhile, Thompson and Sousa are like, they already feel like something isn't adding up, but they're also like, we need to capture her. But it's like, okay, she has a place here, right? And it's like, yes, like, all right, crutch faster. Which I thought was funny. So, but Peggy goes to her own house where she lives, which Jarvis immediately like, but that's not a smart idea. She's like, I have to get Steve's blood. She goes back home, grabs Steve's blood, but then the SSR is there as well. So she climbs out the window, gets into Angie, well, talks to Angie. She's like, it's not true, please believe me. Angie believes her. A knock happens on Angie's door, and they go in there, and Angie's like, well, yeah, I just saw her. I mean, she was leaving. And then in order to really get them to leave, and she just starts to break down because she wants to be an actress, but it's not really working out. But she starts to break down and cry. And everyone I mean, Thompson is just like, no, please stop. Like, he doesn't know how to deal with it. She's like, just stop. Pokes her with a stick. He doesn't poke her with a stick. Shut up. Please stop. But they then eventually just leave. And, well, not entirely leave. But Peggy then goes into Angie's room. Thanks Angie for everything. Angie gets a getaway car ready, which I thought was really funny. And then when Peggy wants to leave, she sees Dottie. And Dottie kisses Peggy, which is like, oh, hello, Louise. But kisses Peggy with the lipstick that Peggy had because Dottie broke into Peggy's room. And because of the fact, and then when Dottie's ready to kill her, that's when the SSR agents arrive. And then she's all like, oh my god, officer, thank you so very much for appearing. I mean, I think my friend Peggy has fainted and I don't know what to do. All innocent like and stuff like that. And, you know, dead. And also, this is the point where Peggy figures out that Dottie is the evil one. Which I actually wrote down here. Peggy figures out Dottie is the evil one and gets captured. And yes, gets captured. And then in episode 7, we basically have the interrogation. And also, we have Dottie who goes to the dentist. Who basically gets SA'd by the dentist. Kind of, but not really. He puts his hand on her knee as like, let's go, baby. And she just has none of that. But she was already planning to kill him. And also, how long did the episode 7 and 8 take place? Because it feels like it took place over the course of maybe like 2 or 3 days. Did nobody go to the dentist during that time? Just asking. Did nobody go to the dentist during that time? Because he was dead there for maybe like 2 or 3 days. And it's just like nobody noticed. Alright, cool. But basically, Fanoff is talking to Dottie in Morse code. They just start talking to each other in Morse code back and forth. While he is also basically manipulating the chief, sadly enough. But we also have the interrogation of Peggy Carter, which does not go well at all because of the fact of how Peggy is. She knows how to kind of keep composure and stuff like that, but she's trying to tell everyone that she is not the evil one, and that Dottie is the evil one. But yeah, that doesn't really help when you've just taken out half the SSR and are on the run, and were on the run, and tried to get away from everything. You ran. That does not make you seem like the good one, even though she is. But also you have like the people there being like, it just doesn't add up. Nothing works. And then we have, but I like how, but I like how everyone is just basically like, it just doesn't add up. This is not Peggy. Like, there's more to this than we know. I like how they know that, but they're still following procedure. I do respect that a lot. And that happened because of over the course of the show. Peggy gained their respect. And now it's like it's all blowing up in their face. And yes, Peggy also conducted an investigation under their noses. And she's just like, yeah, because unless I have your coffee or have your reports, I'm invisible. I'm like, Peggy, you are anything but invisible. Have you seen your body? That is not an invisible body. However, people just don't look at you like that. But you're not invisible. No. But anyway, then we have Jarvis, who arrived with a confession from Stark, which is fake. He faked that in order to free them. So Peggy eventually like reveals that it is fake because she sees Fanoff Morse coding with Dottie. So she comes out, she's like, hey, the confession is fake, I need you to trust me, please. So she explains everything about what she did. Everyone's just like, really, you? And then she's just like, yeah, but unless I get your coffee, I'm invisible. And then after that, she tries, I need you to believe me about Fanoff and about across the street. But they don't believe her. So she plays her ultimate card. And she's like, alright, grab the ball. They come with the ball and she's just like, open it up. That is the last remaining blood of Captain America. And she starts to break down why she kept it. Why did she keep it? Why didn't she return it to the SSR? Why did she keep it? And basically at the end of it all, the truth eventually comes out. I mean, she's like, I didn't want you guys to have it. I didn't want Howard to have it. But at the end, basically the reason why she did that was because she wanted to protect Steve Rogers one last time. And at that point, Sousa's like, dude, there is no way that she is the bad guy. She ain't the bad guy, okay? And it's like, how do you know? It's like, you know how much Captain America means to her? You all do. And it's like, yeah, I love that stuff. So they eventually go to Fanoff and also go across the street. However, Fanoff uses his therapy, hypnotic manipulation tactics in order to get an item 17 and also to strap a vest to the chief, which is gonna blow him up, sadly enough, and escape. And yeah, so Sousa and Thompson basically get outwitted by Dottie and find out the fact that the dentist is dead, and yeah, that stuff has happened. So Dooley jumps out the Dooley is gonna explode basically. No one can get him out, so he does the only sensible thing. He tells he basically tells Carter, "You get the person who did this to me. Promise me." And she's like, we will. Don't worry about it." And then he shoots out the window, jumps out the window, and boom! And Dooley is gone. And it's so sad because also in this episode, or the previous one, I forgot which one, but you learn about his backstory, how he went to war and his wife cheated on him. When he got back, he figured out that his wife cheated on him. And I was like, oh my god, what a horrible person she is. I was immediately on Dooley's side because you don't do that. I don't care who you are. You don't do that. Ever. Alright? Don't do that. While your husband is off going to war, you're gonna have a little field day with the postman or the neighbor or whatever. No, you are a horrible person. And then, but the doctor's also like, don't let this destroy your marriage. I was like, she did that. Sorry, man, but look, men have problems too. I know it never gets talked about because we get ignored as a species, but we can also, ladies, we can also cry. You do understand this, right? We can also be vulnerable, right? You do get that, right? Also, when you cheat on us, it hurts as much as we do it to you. So, a little bit of a rant there. But anyway, he also says, like, tell my wife I love her, and which I kind of wish that he was more like, tell my wife and kids that I love her. I don't know if he mentions his kid. Anyway, jumps out the window, dies. It is sad. I actually shed a tear because I like Dooley, especially over the course of the show and with the whole backstory revealed. I really like Dooley. But the chief dies, and then later on Howard Stark appears. I think in this episode Howard Stark appears and is like, use me as bait, because that is basically what they're gonna do. Because, and also we get to learn what item 17 is and what happened at the Battle of Finau in episode 8. Basically, a whole theater scratches and kills themselves. Everyone attacks everyone because of the gas. Like, there's gas, and it just, like, basically makes you... It was supposed to make you always awake, in that sense, for soldiers out in the battlefield. But it turns you into what the final stage of being awake, where it just turns you into this rage monster that kills everything it sees. Sousa also tries to do that, and he back fists Carter in the face, like, bah! He starts beating up Thompson and back fists Carter until eventually gets taken off and tied up. I like that. But they finally figure out what item 17 is. Stark is like, yeah, okay, use me as bait. Actually, I think that's in episode 8. But Stark is like, use me as bait. So they do that. They try to use Stark as bait because they all know that somehow Fenhoff is gonna use that against Stark. In order to make Stark look bad. Kind of like the whole robbery in his vault. And the reason for that, the reason that he does this, the backstory reveal, we get that as well for the main villain, is the fact that during the Battle of Finau, we have, like, the gas was made. It didn't work the way it was planned, but someone still used it on Russians in order to keep them awake for the war. Yeah, the problem is the fact that the whole Russian army killed themselves. Or the other army, I forgot which one, but killed everyone. But the reason that Fenhoff survived is because of the fact that he had a gas mask. That's the only reason he survived. So, he blames Stark for all of that stuff. Even though technically it's the general's fault, but Stark did technically make it, so I guess Stark is the one to blame. On the canister it says Stark Industries, so Stark is to blame. That is the whole reason why he wants revenge, because of that singular moment. I don't know if for you guys that is good enough reason, but look, I've seen enough superhero property. At least we have something here, okay? It's not just your most generic villain ever. But Howard basically uses himself as bait, but because that happened, he also gets captured and then gets hypnotized and put in an airplane in order to get Steve back. But he's flying to New York to drop the things in order to... Oh, this is a long video. He thinks he's saving Steve, but he's just gonna basically kill everyone. And as Spider-Man 1 taught me, you do not mess with New York. So, and we now need to figure out who took Stark. I also like the whole gun thing where it's like, like just an auto fire thing. I like that too. But who took Stark? Like, where did he take Stark? And it turns out he was taken to an airfield that Stark owns, which is like, of course he has another secret vault of airplanes. Why wouldn't he? Which is also the place where he took Dottie, and that's the whole joke in this episode too, where Stark has to remember who Dottie was. And it's like, Ida! Apparently that was the name, but I'm still gonna call her Dottie because that's what she goes by throughout the whole show, and I'm not really good with change. I am an autistic person, after all. So they go over to that airfield. They try to stop everything. Peggy goes upstairs to fight Dottie and tries to try to bring Howard back. Jarvis gets into a plane in order to potentially shoot Stark down in case he gets too close. In case Peggy fails, we have a backup because we need a way, because they're still flying above water in that sense. So as long as we can get him to dive in the water instead of on the floor, this gas won't really spread. Everything's fine. But obviously Jarvis doesn't really want to do it, but he has to do it. So Peggy fights Dottie. Fenoff escapes. Then we have the fact that it's like, you know, Fenoff has escaped. You know, like we have Thompson and Sousa. We have Thompson and Sousa going after Fenoff. And it's like, okay, don't let him talk to you. And so Thompson gets surprise attacked, knocked down. Sousa arrives. And Sousa's like, hey, yo, hands up, hands in the air. And then walks over to him very slow. Well, cripples over to him very slowly. And then the doctor talks to him. Keeps on talking, keeps on waffling away, and is eventually like that he needs to kill Thompson. And he stands next to Fenoff and points the gun at Thompson, and then he smacks Fenoff, and then he puts he got something in his ear, and he pulls it out, and he's like, was he saying something? It's like, genius. But yeah, the day is saved eventually when Peggy convinces Howard that it was all fake, you know, that it's not real, that they need to let go of Captain America. And yeah, that's it. The good guys win, bad guys lose. Oh, and at the ending, oh, and Dottie escapes, which will be resolved at the beginning of season 2. If I remember that one correctly, that's like the opener, I think, of season 2. We have, Jarvis gives the blood to Peggy. Captain America's blood to Peggy, and also gives them both a new place to live in a Stark mansion, basically. Angie and Peggy, that's what I mean with those two. But both of them a place to live in that mansion. Fantastic, everyone loves it, and that's basically it. And then at the end, Peggy gets rid of Captain America's blood and just puts it in the water and calls it a day. So we're gonna have some super soldier fish. However, I'm still not necessarily okay with that, with the whole thing about the fact that Captain America's blood could have saved so many lives and it's like gone now, so that's great. But overall, I really enjoyed this season. I know I sped through the ending, but that's basically the ending. And then at the end, Fenoff gets put in the same cell as Zola, which I actually thought it was cool that Zola was back from the first Avenger. And he talks about, like, Zola talks about the doctor's research about the brain and stuff like that. And we never get a follow-up on this, but in my opinion, we do, because the way that I see it, Fenoff is the reason that Zola was in the computer in Captain America the Winter Soldier. That's just it. That's the only explanation that I have, because of the fact that's the way that I see it. That's the only way it because of the fact that they talk about brains and stuff like that. It probably is just putting a brain inside of a computer, that kind of stuff. So yeah, but I thought that was cool too. We had some more continuity, and I love this season overall. There were issues that I had with, like, Mr. Ming and, you know, some small writing choices, but this thing is still far superior than I'd say everything that the Disney Plus shows have done. I'm thinking about, like, a Disney Plus show that has come out so far that is better than this, and I can't really think of any of them. Yeah, none of them. Like, I guess Loki, but I'll get to that when I get to Loki. But I'm not the biggest fan of season 1, and I like season 2, so it's a bit weird. I'd say this is on that same level as, like, Loki. I say that. For me personally, this season is like this whole series is like on the same level as Loki, because I can't really remember anything else, because everything else is like, you know, maybe like is worse than Agent Carter. So I'm just trying to figure out what is better than season 1. And like on Disney Plus, there's nothing at all. Nothing. Not the MCU stuff anyway. Because if you're going to comment down below and be like, X-Men 97, that's not canon to the MCU. To me, this is. So about that one. But overall, I thought this season was absolutely fantastic, and I'm excited to do season 2. This might be an hour-long video. Who knows how long this is gonna be, but I'm gonna wrap it up right here so I can start watching season 2, because I've been recording a review and spoiler talk for this for over an hour. So I kind of would like to just, you know, rest a bit before I start season 2, and I'm very excited about that one as well. And then afterwards we'll go into some garbage before we get to Iron Man 1. But man, Comment down below, spoiler filled. What do you guys think about this show? Did you love it? Did you not? What are your issues? Do you have the same problems that I have? Or are you just like, yeah, look, the Mr. Mink stuff, it didn't really bother me. You know, whatever your thoughts, comment down below, let me know. Tell me your favorite episode as well, because, you know, TV series, episodes. Tell me your favorite. Which one was your favorite episode? Well, with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I do hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new or if you've not done so already. Turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out my Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I'll see you guys next week for Agent Carter Season 2 review and spoiler talk. Hopefully, maybe, possibly, maybe I'll see you guys next week. But the next thing, continuity-wise, would be Agent Carter Season 2. So, I'll see you guys for then, or whatever else comes out. Bye!